Happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to Yarn with Heart. My name is Kathy W. for anyone who's new here. Thank you so much for your support in the comments last week about my changing schedule. It is a relief to know that you will be sticking with me even while things change in September. Thank you for taking a moment to hit the all notification when you subscribe. Today it's time for another Stashdown report. This month I received yarn from a family member to help me make more donations in the coming year. And I ordered some yarn from a local yarn store during their end of season sale. Other yarn coming in from various sources was 1,400 grams. That's in addition to the yarn from family and my purchase. This week I added up to see what it all weighed for today's stash down, and a hint, the amount shocked me. I didn't expect this. More about that in a little bit during the stash down results. Please let me know if you would like to see the yarn from my family member. I'll show you that. I'll peek right here. Yeah, let me know if you'd like to see those yarns, both from the family member and from my shopping. If you want to see it, I can show it next video. Let's all grab our cups and yarn and settle in for an August 28th visit. First, I would like to ask anyone who participated in the Bobble and Popcorn Technique slideshow, please send your pictures to me by September 1st. That's next Tuesday. And next week will be the slideshow. Let's get right into it. First a sip. There we go. Let's get right into it with a peek at things that I completed earlier this month between August 1st and the 21st. The first few of those you could see more detail about in my earlier August videos. This one is the Sis Love Shawl by SisHomemade. Oh, and speaking of SisHomemade, it reminds me, Judy and I will be live this Saturday at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. The slideshow of the shawls that you made, the triangular shape ones, the slideshow's already, and it will be fun to chat with you all about this year's summer crochet along. Judy and I are looking forward to seeing you there. And again, here's a peek at the second shawl that I made by these designers. This one is called Sis Love Shawl. The next one is Saltwater Taffy Tea. Thank you so much, everybody who helped me to rescue this and save it from the frog pile. This is the Saltwater Taffy Tea, and it's by Rachel Misner. Next are two Ross hats. I made these as part of slideshows that some of my friends are hosting. Judy from Judy's Creations in Crochet and Rosanna from Knit and Crochet with Nona Rosanna. The next is a scarf, and this to go with the red hat is called the Bear Tooth Scarf, and it's by Kim Hasselmeyer. There we go. Now for the new ones that I just completed this week. First, a baby blanket. I want to start with that one first. Yeah. This one is a pattern by Breann McKinley. I got it for free on the Daisy Farm Crafts website. It is called the Sweet Berries Baby Blanket, and instead of the border by Hannah, I added a moss stitch border here. To make the border, I used leftover yarn. This has been made with Premier Basics worsted and a 6.5mm hook. And my papers that show the colors just fell on the ground. So, oops, let's take a look at the colors I used. I used white, sage, apricot, and buff. And each of these were 7 ounces or 200 grams and had 359 yards or 328 meters in each. Another was another Ross hat. And this hat, I still have to tie in the ends, but otherwise it's finished. And this is to go with a brioche cowl that I made earlier. This cowl is a pattern by Jessica Ace from Double the Stitches. Next, an anchored hat by Kara McKinley, and I will match this hat to a blanket that I made previously. I found a yarn that matches one color in this blanket pretty closely. This is Schackenmeyer Bravo worsted, and the color number is 08289. To make the hat, I used a 4.5mm needles. The pattern includes sizes for a baby, which is what I made, and also for an adult. Because it's so stretchy and because of the brim, it can fit a number of different sizes. I really like this hat pattern. And next, I crocheted a hat, and this one is by Breann Mauldin from Hooked on Homemade Happiness. The pattern is available free as part of her yearly Crochet For A Cause event. This is called the Turban Style Beanie, and I made it to match a pair of fingerless mitts from last month. This used both a 5mm and a 6mm hook, and the yarn I used was Cambridge Fibers Advent yarn from 2025. I do have one more end to sew in on this one, I notice. Now, to those who crochet hats for donation like I do, you might want to subscribe to Breann's Hooked on Homemade Happiness newsletter to see the hat patterns that she provided during the event. And if you download any of these patterns from the Crochet For A Cause, it is a pledge to provide at least one of that style to someone in need. This one will be on its way to casting off the cold. And let's see, this one also with some ends to weave in is a free pattern called the Quick Ombre Hat, which comes in many different sizes. It's by Emily Dormier, and it's a good trick to know that if you would like a cowl and see only a hat pattern available, try using extra repeats of the pattern to make it wider. Check the gauge and the stitch multiple information so that you can try for at least 24-inch total circumference, and then work until the height needed. Add on the ribbing that matches the start of the hat instead of following the decreases mentioned in the pattern, and I made this one to go with a hat that I had knit previously. So this will be another set for donation. Speaking of donations, donations from me are collected during end of September and early October. And so in the last big push, I made a few more washcloths and soap sacks. This one is called Wishes Dishcloth by the Kitchen Sink Shop. And I used Estelle Suds yarn in the color Ocean, such a pretty color. I used a 3.5 millimeter needles to make this one. And then two that I made are soap sacks to match already made dishcloths or washcloths. There we go. So these two washcloths I pulled out and realized there was not a soap sack to go with them. And in two others, I made both pieces. All were with cotton from scraps. So 4 more soap sacks and a few more cloths for donation. The pattern for these is called the Ripple Cloth and Soap Sack. I purchased this pattern from Heathermaid on Ravelry, and I used either a 4 millimeter or a 5 millimeter needles, depending on the thickness of the cotton. And now for Stashdown results for August. To start, a short recap for anyone who's new. My goal this year is simple: just to use more yarn than I buy in 2026. And so I am weighing projects that I have made using yarns I bought up until December 2025. And a spoiler, there was a lot of yarn that came into my stash this month, far more than I could possibly use during August. After I weighed them, 1 second, I got a little, I think, yarn fluff in my nose. After I weighed them and added it up, this month I used 2,000 grams, or in imperial measure, that's 70.5 ounces, and it's the same as about 20 skeins of yarn used this month. And a total of 17 items finished. 4 of those were larger items, and the rest were hats or soap sacks or dishcloths. And for all the yarn coming in, including my purchase and the yarn that a family member gifted to me, that yarn weighed a total of, I'm in shock when I found out. I was really in shock. 8,543 grams. And for friends from the US, that's 8.5 kilograms, is just under 20 pounds. So the total difference between yarn I purchased and yarn that is no longer in my stash, including the yarn from that gift, 6,543 grams extra came in during August. That is 14.5 pounds more than I used this month. For anyone new to the channel, you can watch Bridget's video. That's Queen's Crafts by Bridget, to find out some of the many ways to track your yarn used. Thank you, everyone, for being here, for sharing in your comments and leaving your thumbs. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy your crochet. Enjoy your knitting. And I hope to see you next video.